We have reached the end of the first day of the first week of the first only hour a day televised Formula One 2026 Bahrain pre-season test, where Lando Norris triumphed at the top of the timing seats with a 1 minute 34. We also saw Williams' first outing in testing, other than their virtual track testings that they did. We saw Hulkenberg do a lot of lockups, and he also broke down in his Audi. Franco Colapinto's Alpine also broke down at the side of the track with the second red flag of the day, and Lewis Hamilton was struggling a little bit, saying he was dusting off the cobwebs and spun. Getting into the nitty-gritty of the Bahrain preseason test day one, we're going to have a look at the drivers and how many laps they did. Some quick overviews, a few little ramble side sections, and just overall discussing how the teams looked after this first day, the track conditions, what a few drivers said, and focusing on Williams and Cadillac's first outings that were very good and interesting, and a little rant about Cadillac themselves. With the four drivers which did 0 laps in preseason testing, day one, we have Liam Lawson, not very surprising with him. They wanted to let Arvid Lindblad get the laps in. Lawson did quite a few laps in the Barcelona preseason tests, and RB wanted to make sure that Lindblad was familiar with all the electrical and driving characteristics of that RB, and basically making sure he doesn't bin it in the wall like Hajar did, which is pretty important for an F1 driver. And then we move on to the next driver who didn't do any laps, Ollie Behrman, which is very surprising because you would think Haas would want to give him the experience, but it seemed like they've been giving a lot of laps to Esteban Ocon lately. He's done almost, I think, 300 laps on his own, considering the shakedown private test that we're not going to televise, but we're going to tell everyone when day it is, but we're also going to tell them it's private and ask them pretty please not to come. And when people do get over there and we tell them, no, you can't come in here, and then they try and get in, then we kick them out. But then some guys who are sat in trees manage to get in. Then it's all amazing. But we end up with a weird situation where Isaac Hajar and Oliver Behrman, the two rookies from last season, don't do any laps, presumably so that their more experienced teammates can get the early testing done, get the early info in from the team, all of that stuff, so that then they can afford to crash and lose data time later on, and it won't be too bad. Basically won't be as detrimental as getting crashed in early testing, having to spend loads of time repairing the car, and then not being able to do any testing full stop because they're spending the whole time repairing the car, like what happened with the Barcelona preseason test and Isaac Hadjar on day one. And then finally, the last driver who didn't do any laps in preseason testing, Fernando Alonso. Main reason, there was a technical problem, and they wanted to get Lance Stroll out. Of course they did. It's Lawrence Stroll's team. Fernando Alonso ended up doing no laps. He'll be fine with that. He's adaptable. He's old. Same age as my dad, actually. And he's still in F1. Dad, what the hell are you doing? Get into F1, buddy. Can't believe you. But yeah, Fernando Alonso doing 0 laps. He'll be fine. He'll do laps again tomorrow, and he'll be able to make the most of the laps he does get. That's one of the things that I have noticed from Fernando. He's very good at making up the time he does get, and he's very, very good at giving info to his team. Moving on to the drivers who actually did laps, we'll start with the team who did the least laps, and start with Aston Martin, who only managed 36 laps overall, because Lance Stroll only did 36 laps. A technical side on Aston Martin meant that Lance Stroll wasn't able to go out until after the midpoint of the first hour of the televised bit. So it was within the last hour of the day of testing, the 8 hours that they get every day for 2 weeks, and he only managed 36 laps. He has actually beaten two other drivers in the amount of laps done, but he still didn't manage to do very many. And this is it's not too big of a deal for Aston Martin. They haven't done very many laps actually. Overall, they did 3 laps in the Barcelona testing, and their car broke down. They did a technical issue this morning, which took them ages, and then they only did 36 laps. But I think when Fernando gets in that car, he'll get a lot of good running. He'll get 50, 60, 80, 100 laps in with that car. Stroll will get some good running too. It'll be no issue for the Aston Martin team to get that car up and running. I think once they get that car up and running and they do loads of laps and they get the data, then it'll start the ball rolling and they'll get all of the technical data that they need and all of the running and the durability data that they need to be able to make the most of this testing 2 weeks, which I'm excited for. I want to see what this Adrian Newey car can do. Newey is the biggest aura farmer on the F1 grid. He gets glazed completely by Aston Martin with the by design thing that in that Aston Martin car launch got mentioned about 6 times. I wonder what they did more, the stream crash or they say by design. Yeah, the car looked good. Lawrence Stroll, here's yeah. We have reached the end of the first day of the first week of the first only hour a day televised Formula One 2026 Bahrain pre-season test. Was good, and the interesting to see how they do basically, and I'm excited to see what Aston Martin can do. So moving on, let's take a look at the team that Adrian Newey left to go to Aston Martin. We've already established Isaac Hadjar completed 0 laps in the test, and Max Verstappen put in an absolute shift in today's testing session. He did 136 laps, which is a lot, and is actually the most of any driver in this session. Max put in one of the biggest shifts I've ever seen in a testing day. Considering it's a new regulation, that is a crazy number of laps to have done in a Red Bull that he's not really driven too much either. He didn't get much driving out of it because Hadjar crashed it, and when they managed to fix it, he only had 1 day left. So he's made the most of his testing time. He has made the absolute most of his testing time. And that's what he usually does. He just gets in the car and he drives it for hours and hours and hours, like a sim racing. Max did really well. That Red Bull looks worse on track as well than it did in the livery launch, because I don't know whether they've changed the paint or anything, but it just seems more black and navy, and I don't like it as good. I think the more intricate details that you were able to see at the livery reveal were better. But I'm putting a video like ranking all of the liveries out soon, so you can just go watch that to see my opinion on the liveries. I will say I have to rant about the Cadillac livery later, so stay tuned for that, I guess. But yeah, Max put in a good shift, and I'm excited to see whether the Max dominance will be back for 2025. It's 2026. 2026. Next, let's go to Red Bull's rivals for the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship, McLaren. They did 114 laps in this first day, which was split very nearly equally between Lando and Oscar. Lando doing 58 and Piastri doing 54. Obviously, Lando did more laps, which meant that he got a better time. I don't think that's why, but you could say that. Lando got first on the timing sheet, so the 1 minute 34.699, which is impressive. A lot of people wrote off McLaren, including myself a little bit, but I still have hope. I'm a McLaren fan. Uh, a little bit. I've kind of moved to Ferrari since Zach Brown started. America, amazing. We're the best team. We're gonna be the new Christian Horner. I've kind of dropped away from them and just focused on the drivers. I like the drivers. I don't like the team. So I'm slowly deranging to being a Ferrari fan. I know. But yeah, McLaren did well today. A lot of laps, good running, uh, good data. They should be proud of the data that they've got on. Respectable data. Less than Red Bull with two drivers. Uh, Incredible. But yeah, Red Bull did more laps than McLaren and Red Bull only had one driver. But that one driver was Max Verstappen. But then Max Verstappen drove the whole day, and Lando and Oscar did not drive the whole day. I don't know. It's difficult. It's just testing. We can't take anything away from it. But Lando did get the fastest time on the sheet. So yippee! Lando's the best. Lando's going to win the championship. He's going to win the championship. He's going to win the championship. He's going to win the championship. Next, let's move to another British team. A British team with a lot of heritage, in fact. The team that we all thought were completely cooked at the start of this regulation cycle because they announced they weren't going to be able to make it to pre-season Barcelona shakedown that was private, and also nobody let them in. It's Williams. Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon did amazingly well. More laps than McLaren, more laps than RB, more laps than Audi, more laps than Williams, more laps than Ferrari, more laps than Cadillac, more laps than Haas. They got the second most laps, I believe, out of anyone. Albon got 68 laps. Respectable. Very good. Sainz, 77 laps. Respectable. Very good. Their testing times, also relatively quick. Albon 10th, Sainz 13th. Also pretty good. We can't really take times from testing, but we have them, and they're cool, so I'm going to use them. Williams, having missed the test and only being able to rely on virtual track testing, going into this, I was worried, but now that worry is gone. They did well, and their testing results show that. I'm proud of the Williams team, because Williams are my favourite team. I'm a Williams fan. That livery is peak, by the way. Love the livery. People say it's bad, but the blue, and 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 the white, and the blue, and the red, and the blue, and the white, and the blue. Did I say blue? Yeah, they're all worked together really well. It's amazing. 10 out of 10 livery. Might be one of the best on the grid. Albon and Sainz are going to look so good in that livery. But yes, peak livery, guys. Hooray! Yippee! I love the Cadillac. I love the Williams livery. And I love the Williams team. And I love what they managed to do in this testing day. Let's move to Mercedes and Alpine. I'm going to cover them in the same section because they have the same kind of things I can say about them. Both of them had one driver, Franco Colapinto and Kimi Antonelli, who did less than 40 laps. Antonelli did 30 and Colapinto did 28. Colapinto did less laps because his car broke down, and Antonelli did less laps because his car broke down in the garage, and they spent a lot of time trying to fix Antonelli's car, and he got out within the last hour of testing. Colapinto was struggling a little bit at turn 10 before his car broke down. Nothing too interesting. And Antonelli was being very, very aggressive around those corners. He had a lot of wide moments and back end slips and tail kicks and a lot of stuff. It was really cool to see him drive around the track. But the more senior of each got Gasly with 49 laps. Respectable. He's in an Alpine. Probably still going to be a tractor, even if they have the Mercedes engine in it. But they do have a new aerodynamic concept, so I'm interested to see where that goes. And then George Russell, who did 56 laps in his Mercedes. Mercedes was one of the worst teams in terms of laps, actually, which is slightly concerning for Mercedes. But also, that's good for us, because that means we're getting a title fight. Hopefully, as long as they're on the back foot for the first race of the season, please don't make me do Mercedes dominance again, please. But yeah, Toto Wolff said that they need to get their act together, which is a bit concerning for them. But I don't think we need to be too concerned because Mercedes are Mercedes and they have the engine compression ratio stuff, and they're gonna be good. And we don't need to worry, guys. Mercedes are gonna be peak. Next, let's cover the two new teams on the grid for 2026. Cadillac, the new team, completely new, and Audi, the team that took over Sauber for the 2026 season. Cadillac, starting with them, had Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez. Bottas doing 49 laps, which is good for him. I hope Bottas can return to some sort of form and excitement. And Perez doing 58, which is good. Good amount of laps, same as Lando. Also, Bottas did the same amount as Gabriel Bortoleto in the Audi and Gasly in the Alpine. There were a lot of drivers in that range of 49 to 58. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 drivers out of the 22 slash 18 who did running today that got in that range, which is half of the drivers who did running, which seems strange, but also importantly is good because it means that they split their two drivers over the 2 day. Over 2 day, not the 2 day, which is good because it means they both get some time to test and they can get data from two different driving styles and basically have more accurate data. But yeah, Cadillac doing that many laps is surprising. I didn't expect them to be one of the most run teams. I thought they would be a bit more conservative and maybe have a few issues, but they haven't actually shown any issues throughout the day, which is exciting for them because I want to see Cadillac do well. But now I don't want to see Cadillac do well because they had a peak livery with the chrome, and it was on the halo, it was on the rear wing, and it was on the front end plates, and they took it all away. They stripped the car of its chrome for the on-track testing, which made me very sad because the chrome was the best part about the livery. We haven't had a chrome livery since the McLaren in 2012. So some people may go, oh, but Joe, the McLarens were dark chrome in the Silverstone races for the McLaren in the past years. Well, it wasn't chrome, it was chrome, black and orange. So they need to go fully chrome if they want to do a chrome livery, not chrome, black and orange, because the orange ruins the livery. Because putting the orange on the front nose doesn't mean that it's a chrome livery, because it's not fully chrome. Yes, it's a chrome livery, but it's not a chrome livery. It's not a chrome livery. So Cadillac needs to put the chrome livery onto the chrome livery, rather than just having a white livery, which made it a bit boring. But moving on to Audi, Audi did pretty respectably. Obviously, Bortoleto with 49 laps and Hulkenberg with 73. There were a lot of problems with the Audi, though. The drivers seemed quite difficult to drive that car and struggled quite a lot. Hulkenberg especially, having an off at turn 1 and turn 10 and locking up a few times before his car broke down. And he had to stop, which was the second red flag of the session, where Colapinto's breaking down was the first. A lot of issues for Audi, but it also was relatively clean running in general, considering they did have that engine failure. So yeah, we'll see what these two new teams can do in the 2026 season, and hopefully good things, because I don't like seeing the new teams fail. The final two teams we need to cover for our day 2 testing breakdown, not breakdown like Hulkenberg and Colapinto did, but breakdown as in diverging into the details of the testing, yes. Are Ferrari and Haas. Ferrari did a lot of running, actually. I'm very surprised that that car didn't break down. The livery, good. Like it. I like the new implementations of the white and the pinstripe. It's much better than before. Leclerc doing 79 laps. Got a lot of good running. And it was interesting to see him do another season with Ferrari because there's a lot of people saying that he could leave. I don't see him leaving this season. I could see him seeing how 2027 goes, or maybe even 2028, run to the end of his contract and then go to somewhere like Aston Martin if they're good. Because I can't see Aston Martin being amazing this season. I don't think there'll be 2023, beginning of 2023 levels. Um, and I think Fernando Alonso will stay on for 2027. So the only way you'd get in is if you replace Lance Stroll, and we know what the probabilities of that are. Um, and in terms of Hamilton, it just depends if he retires and Ollie Behrman gets the seat. But he did 52 laps, struggled a lot in testing. He said in an interview with Sky Sports that he was brushing off the cobwebs of the winter break, um, which made it so that it was more difficult for him today. Which everyone will say, "Oh, the car's terrible to drive. Oh, the car's not at his standards. Oh, it's built for Leclerc." Hamilton is past his prime. I am sick of hearing people tell me that Hamilton is still in his prime and that he's not washed. I'm not saying he's washed. I think he's not as good as he was before. Hamilton needs to get his acts together and start performing again if he wants to keep the Ferrari seat and not have to retire. This is the truth. Hamilton fans shoot me. I'm just the messenger. Just saying. Ferrari, they need to get their act together. Hamilton needs to get his act together. So if they want to keep Charles, they need to pull the finger out, man. But yeah, Hamilton, a lot of lockups, spun at turn one, the first spin of pre-season testing. And Hamilton ended up P7, I want to say. Probably not P7. I don't know. It definitely wasn't anywhere in the top five. But yeah, he did some pretty respectable running. I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's completely washed and he was terrible and he didn't do any laps. I'm going to tell you the truth. That he spun and he locked up and he went off a few times and he struggled. And that's just him dusting off the cobwebs, as he said, from the winter break. But people need to stop acting like he's still in his prime, because he's not. He's more washed than in his prime. I'm just going to say that. The final team we need to mention is Haas, who managed 115 laps with Esteban Ocon and 0 laps with Ollie Behrman, which I was actually very surprised at. I have already mentioned this, but I feel like they should have given Ollie Behrman some time. But again, if Ollie Behrman crashes, which I think is more likely than Esteban, I can't tell. But if he does crash, then they lose quite a lot of data, and obviously he's inexperienced, so he might crash. But yeah, Ocon put another shift in, like Max. He did 115 laps on his own. Very good job by Ocon to get that many laps done. Excited to see what he can do, because Ayo Komatsu, in an interview right after the car got launched, said that Ocon needs to improve. He wants to see improvements from him, and that he hopes to see him do better this season than he did last season, because he did get outscored by Behrman, and I think that is down to Ocon. Not Ocon's fault. I don't think he's bad. I just think Behrman really clicked with that car, and he did really well. And he did slightly look into that P4 at Mexico with Sainz breaking down on the second to last lap. He would have been P5. And I think that would have made it so that Ocon outscored him. But I can't remember. But yeah, Haas put in a respectable effort. Haas livery, amazing. Again, ranking video out soon. Once I probably put it out on a day where there is no testing review. But I'm just excited to see what Haas can do, because I love Haas. They're a great team, and I'm excited to see what the Toyota partnership can bring for them. They're great prospects for Haas, and I love seeing Haas perform well. They have a very good vibe. They are the OG American team, and I want to see them shine this season, because they got very unlucky with a P9 last season with the way that things panned out. But yeah, I'm just really excited to see what the whole of 2026 is like. We have no idea who's going to be where. Ferrari could be the bottom. Mercedes could be the bottom. Mercedes could win the championship by 6 million points. McLaren could be fifth. Alpine could win the championship. Fernando Alonso could get his first win. There are so many important and amazing things about this season, and this is why I watch Formula One. It is amazing to see the amazing prospects of F1 and how different it is every season. Also, Lindblad did 75 laps. Important, because he's a rookie. getting used to all of the electrical and driving standards. And that, my wonderful viewers, is your 2026 F1 Bahrain preseason testing day one, first hour of televised watching, 2-week test, first day, day one. Did I say day one? Yes, it did. Well, it's that, big long name, wrapped. Thank you very, very much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more podcasts like this. Put the notifications on as well, all the YouTubery stuff. And I will see you for the next day of our rain testing. Bye.